Hi everybody, I'm Chris Van Hillo with the City of Tampa's Visual Arts team. Today I thought what we would do is make a necklace using either 5 or 7 strands of different beads. What we're going to do is we're going to feed those beads, those strands rather, through a focal lampwork bead. If you don't have a focal lampwork bead, I've done this necklace with just the strands and it's as beautiful as if it had the focal. So let me get set up here and we're going to get started. Stay tuned. I've gone through the process of elimination here and I think I have whittled this down to the beads that I want to use. First of all, here is our focal bead. Hopefully you can see that. Close up for you if you can see that. So as you can see, it has a lot of greens. By the way, this lampwork bead was made by my friend who is a very talented artist. Her name is June Knowles, and if you're interested in these focal beads, let me know and I'll try to connect the two of you. So this is my focal bead, and I'm really wanting to incorporate the green, so I have some different green beads here. It has some gray, so I have some really pretty gray lentil beads here. There's just a little bit of ivory in there, so I have some 6/0 matte ivory beads that I was going to use. Also has some black, so I was going to incorporate some, I don't know if these are fringe, I guess. So I have these other really pretty little green beads. Normally I like to use a bead wire when I do these necklaces, but I'm concerned that people that might be watching this at home won't have bead wire. So this is the soft touch, the flex wire, the fine flex wire. I really like to use that. But today I'm going to try to use either C-Lon or S-Lon, which is what is so common in our kumi necklaces that we've been doing. So we're going to see how that works. I'm also, so that I can save my specialty beads, I'm going to use 8/0s at the ends of both my legs here, and then I'll start incorporating in the more expensive beads. Okay, so this is one that I did, and I kind of like how that looks, as opposed to doing the whole necklace with the beads, because it really does take up quite a lot of beads. I'm going to try to do the one like this that has the 8/0s at the end. Get a couple of, what did I do? I think I did about 2.5 inches of the 8/0s, and then I started incorporating the nicer beads. So let's get this set up. And I've taken the liberty of taking all my cords through this hole to make sure. That would really stink if I got, you know, if it wasn't going to work. I would be a little bit unhappy with that. So I've gone ahead and taken the liberty of putting all these cords through my central focal bead, my lampwork bead, to make sure that they're going to fit. Gone ahead and taken the liberty of painting my ends with red fingernail polish, all right? So that just stiffens up the end for us so that we can use that like a saber or a needle. All I did was take my scissors and trim that at a little bit of an angle, painting all the way around. Okay, I just want to stiffen this up, painting all the way around with my red fingernail polish. Now, I used my third hand here just to keep my ends from touching and sticking together, because this is kind of like glue while it's wet, right? You're going to need to cut 5 to 7 strands of your C-Lon or your S-Lon. Cut these at 30 inches because you need a little playroom for those crimps on the end. If your ends are too short and you're trying to feed them through a crimp, you're going to be chasing it. It's just not fun. So I'm going to try to show you this again, just so you can see. There's my crimp. Here's my cord. I'm going to pick the cord up and I'm going to put it through the crimp. I'm going to grab onto that. I'm trying to see if you can see this. Okay, then I have to take that cord back through the crimp. Sweetheart, go on. I think I got it. Okay, so I have a little loop that is way too big. Okay, and I'm just going to try to run this up to my toothpick. All right, can you see that? And then I'm going to have a little bit of a tail there. You see the little red tail hanging down? And I'm going to take my pliers and I'm just going to crimp. I'm squeezing that as tightly as I can. And then when I take the toothpick off, I'll have this little loop. I need to have 7 of those little loops. On my 6/0 seed beads, I can use a bead needle to help me. And I cut my nails yesterday, so I'm having a hard time. I'm going to open my split bead needle and I'm just going to put my cord through there, like this. And then I am going to count these beads, but I'm going to stab into this pile of beads. You can use a washcloth, you can use a bead mat. You can sit here and count them one at a time if you want. What I like to do is stab, just stab, 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 get them on the needle, slide them down the cord, like this, okay? And then we're going to count out 30 number 6 seed beads on each strand. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll get back together. I went ahead and added my kumi bobbins to the ends of my strands because I was afraid I was going to have a Debbie Young moment and everything was going to come flying off and then I wouldn't be able to control myself on camera. Sarah just texted me and said if she was a video editor for a living, she'd be homeless. This is so much harder than you guys can imagine. Ah! Okay, I'm done. There was my vent. All right, so here are going to be my specialty beads. I now have my 30 beads on the end of each of my 7 strands. I'm going to use a gray, then I'm going to go into a green, then I'm going to go into a matte crystal, then I'm going to go into a matte drop, lentil, then I'm going to go into a matte 6/0, then I'm going to go into these beautiful AB fringe beads, then I'm going to do these ivory gem chips, and then I'm going to incorporate the bicones in with these beautiful fringe beads. So the whole strand doesn't have to be the same bead. If you're afraid you're going to run out of something, which I am, I'm going to go ahead and do one of these, 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 one of these. So we'll see how that looks, okay? Let me get caught up and I'll be back in a minute. The beads I had planned to use, these beautiful little rizzos that I wanted to use, the hole was too small. And I had another, I think they were the crystal drops that I wanted to use. The holes were too small, even for the string just to go through. So here is my pattern, and I have written the number of beads on each one that I had to use to equal the length that I want. So what I did is I drew a line at the top, a line at the bottom. This one took 30 beads. This one only took 25. This one only took 20, 22. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take all my bobbins off and I'm going to thread those cords through my focal bead. Okay, I think I have them all. One of them's being a butthead here, but I'm hoping as I push. Alright, they will all come through. So before I get crazy here, let's just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, there we go. Okay, and we're just going to pull them all up. I'm just going to pull them tightly one at a time. The 5th one, the 6th one, there it is. There's the 7th one. Okay, so this is what I have so far. I decided that our focal bead, I felt like it needed something on each side of it, so I had these little spacer donuts. I don't know if you can see this. I don't know how to. Alright, so I put one on each side. I also strung this up with a piece of wire on the other end. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to give that a light little twist here because that's not really the one I'm going to use. Okay, so I've just kind of strung those up so they can't get away from me. And what I'll do now is I will exactly do to this side what I've done to that side. So if the first strand that I'm going to do has the matte 6/0 beads, I'm just going to pull this strand until I see it moving in here. Okay, and it's this one right here. So I'm going to now bead this half, and again I'm just going to pull each one of these strands individually, and when I see the cord move on the other end, I'll know which end goes with which top. Okay, be back in a little while. One thing I do want to mention is that before I started threading these through the central focal bead, I took a picture with my cell phone so that I would know what order I had these in and how many beads went on each strand. Somehow you need to do some note taking to know what your math is. It's kind of important. Another thing that bears mentioning here is don't put too many beads on your needle before trying to pull them down your cord. Oops, it actually went through. Sometimes you can get a bead that has a smaller hole than others, and you'll have a hard time sliding the bead over. So you don't want to have, you know, all 30 of your beads on your needle and then find that you've got a small hole here and it won't go over your needle and your thread. So do 5 or 6 or 10 at the most at a time, pull it all the way through, and then get the next amount of beads on your strand. Since we're on the final leg of our necklace, once you get your specialty beads on and you pull them down your thread, you can then go ahead and grab your black beads that are going on the very tip of your necklace down here. Okay, and I think we said we were doing 30 of those. So once you have your specialty beads on, go ahead and grab your 30 of your 6/0 seed beads. I wanted to point out that these beautiful little lentil beads that I have, they're double holed, and it really doesn't matter. There's 2 holes there, you're just going to use one. It really doesn't matter. So just use whichever hole you want, and I promise you they will lay down flat. So stiffening up that cord end is really going to be your best friend right now, because these beads, the holes on these beads are too small to go through a bead needle and double thread. So I'm having to literally find the hole. Sometimes I hold that bead up to a light to find the hole, and then you have to string these through one at a time. It's a bit painstaking. It really helps if you can stiffen up the end of your cord here with either some super new glue, the bead glue that is so popular right now, or fingernail polish, and then try to cut that at an angled end so that you can stab it through the beads. I hope that helps. Once you have all your beads on, now you're going to add that second crimp. Remember, we had one on this end, we had crimp on this end. Whoops, there they are. Crimps on this end. Now we're going to add a crimp on this end. So I'm going to pick up that crimp. I don't know if you can see this thing there, so tiny. Can you see that little tiny crimp there? And I'm going to feed this through. Oops. I just had another Debbie Young moment. Okay, let's try this again. I'm going to feed that on there. I'm going to let it go all the way down to the bottom. And I'm going to really pull on that and make sure that it's good and tight. Adding my little crimps onto the end of my cord, and I'm trying to do it in a way that you can actually see what I'm doing, and I'm having a hard time with it. Okay, I got that crimp on there. Alright, and now I have to hold on to that crimp so that I can bring it through. I have to make a loop. So I have to bring this crimp, I have to bring the end of the cord through that bead a second time. See? You gotta get your fingers out of the way so you can push it through. So see the little tail coming through here? See that little tail coming through? Okay. I'm gonna grab my toothpick and I'm just going to put it in here, and I'm going to pull And as I pull, I have made a nice little loop there, okay? And I'm just going to hold on to this, and I'm going to grab my needle nose pliers. I'm going to try to do this from underneath so you can see. And I'm just going to grab that crimp. Now make sure those beads are really down there, okay? Up against that focal bead, and they are. I checked. Okay, and then I'm just going to grab this, and I'm going to crimp that bead. Alright, that loop's a little bit big, but it'll work. Close enough for government work. I'm going to finish the rest of these crimps and we'll finish this guy off. I just want to show you guys, if you mess up with a crimp like I just did off camera, once your crimp is set, if you just take your pliers, so see how it's flat this way right now? Okay, if you just take your pliers and try to attack them from the other side, they will bend, the crimp will bend open, and you'll be able to take it right off. Okay, to end this off, I've taken a piece of 20 gauge wire, put it through each one of those loops, and I'm just going to twist this like a bread tie around one time as tightly as I can. Oh, that's a thought. I should have used sterling. By the way, don't use sterling crimps on this project because you're never going to see those crimps. They're going to go inside of a cone. So don't waste your sterling silver. Okay, then you're going to want to cut this piece of wire, this little tab right here. You're going to want to cut that off. See if I can do this so that you can see what I'm doing. Can you see? Can you get up there and cut that? Okay. Okay. And you can take some pliers and just crimp that little tail down so it's nice and flat. Alright, there we go. Got it down there. Alright, I'm going to put my cone on here, and I'm going to bring this down, and it's going to fit over all, oops, sorry, out of my view there. Okay, it's going to fit over all those crimps so that you can't see them. One thing I like to do, it's kind of my signature thing, is I like to grab a bead and put a bead on the end of there, on the end of that little cap right there. So I think I'm going to grab something simple that just happens to be right here in front of me. I'll just grab one of these gray galvanized etched. I'm just dropping that down like that, okay? Alright, now we're going to do the, we're going to form our loop to close this off. So we're going to take our wire and we're going to fold it down 90. Can you see? You can't see. We're going to turn our pliers up. Can you see? We're going to bring that up and over and down. So we have this pretty little hook here. Can you see the little hook there? We're going to put our pliers back in on the bottom. We're going to wrap that around, and we're going to bring this up and over, and we're just going to wrap it around 2 or 3 times, keeping it as tight up against there as we can. And that was 3. That's plenty. I'm going to take my cutters here and cut that as close as I can. It's not very close. My other pliers are in the other room right now. I'm not going to go get them. And then I'm just going to try to crimp that down. And now I'm going to go to the other side. I need to trim off all these strings. And then I'm going to take wire and I'm going to go through all these little loops. Okay? So let me trim my strings and I'll be back. Alright. Now I have a necklace for a midget. So this is why math is so important. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to add some chain. I have this little bit of chain here. I'm going to cut this chain in half, and then just using some jump rings. This is sterling, so I think that'll be fine. I'm just using some jump rings. I will jump the chain onto the end of the necklace. I have these lobster claws with jump rings, and everybody knows how to open a jump ring, right? Jump rings are wrapped around a mandrel. So in order to open a jump ring, you need to go front to back. You don't try to pull them apart like this, you twist like this. So this is going to go on here. I hear Buffy. Opened up my jump ring and my lobster claw, and I'm just going to add it to the end of that chain. And then I'm going to close the jump ring. Alright, and I have a chain on the end which is going to extend my necklace. Now I'm going to do that to the other side, and I will show you the finished project. And there you have it. There's our beautiful new beaded necklace. You can give a little twist before you put it on to twist those sides. And I think the next necklace we do will actually be, I wanted this one to be a twist, but I wasn't finding it to work well with the seal-on, so I think there must be a reason why we use that beaded wire, or the bead wire, I mean. So anyway, here's our beautiful necklace. I'm very happy with it. See you soon.